Hello and welcome back everyone. Myself Abhijit and a very good evening or good morning to you all based on from where you are joining. So before starting today's session, can you all please confirm that you guys can hear me well and see my screen? Okay, good. So this is the 9th day of the DevOps training, and before starting today's session, let's have a small recap of last day's topic. So last day we saw about the need for configuration management tool. Then we saw about the Puppet configuration management tool, then common terms that are related to Puppet, then how Puppet works we saw, then Puppet architecture we saw, then data flow for individual nodes, then master and agent interaction, then configuration items we saw, Puppet DSL we had a small intro about that one. Then we saw what resources is resource abstraction layer, then installation and configuration, connecting and signing Puppet node or agent, then running Puppet module. All those things we saw during the last session. So in any doubt in those topics, any doubt in the last session topics, today also we'll be seeing a bit more detail on Puppet. We'll be revisiting some of the topics that we covered last class as well. But still, if you have any doubt during regarding the last class, please ask your question. Yes, Vivek has a doubt. Vivek, please ask. Vivek is asking, as AWS architect, what level of DevOps you need to know? If you are not into programming, as an admin, what you need to know to clear the as an admin, what you need to know to clear the interviews for AWS DevOps professional. Okay, Vivek, see, this DevOps has nothing to do with AWS. Okay, that is the first thing. So DevOps, it can be you may be configuring AWS instances, or you may be configuring instances in say DigitalOcean or like Microsoft Azure, or you'll be managing custom infrastructures. But it is not specific for AWS. So whatever you learn in this DevOps, those are the tools that you'll use in DevOps, even if you are using AWS instances or any other instances. Okay, so a good knowledge of these tools that we are taking in this particular course will be very helpful for you in your DevOps journey. Okay, and all the tools that we are showing here, all these tools can be used with AWS instances. Okay, so these tools, a basic understanding of these tools will help with your DevOps journey. Now, Rajita is asking, could you please say the difference between site.pp and init.pp? Okay, Rajita, actually, when you create an environment, like in your case, environments production, that is where we were working on last class. So in that particular folder, there should be a manifest folder, and inside that manifest folder, if there is one site.pp manifest available, then Puppet will be looking at that site.pp and considering it as the default manifest for that particular environment. Okay, so what are things that you need to specify? Like if you want to link a particular module with a particular node, or a set of modules for a particular node or different nodes, then what you have to do is you have to add those comments or add those grouping inside site.pp. That is where Puppet will default look for. Okay, now when the case when we create like init.pp, that init.pp is inside your module. So when you create a module, inside the modules manifest folder, you will have one init.pp. So that init.pp is the default manifest for a module, that is specific for a module. but site.pp is for that particular environment. This is clear, Rajita? So please don't confuse between site.pp and init.pp. Both are manifest files, but site.pp is the default manifest file for the production environment, and init.pp is the default manifest file used inside modules. Vivek is asking module is specific to node. Actually, we'll be using those modules inside node for its configuration. But it can be for multiple nodes, it can be for a single node, it can be for a group of nodes. It's up to the scenario. But the modules that we install in our Puppet server will be used by the module. It is not for the server, it is for the nodes. So clear, Vivek? Vivek, is it clear? So Vivek is something. So init.pp is specific to a node. No, Vivek, init.pp is specific to a specific to a module. Okay, and we can specify which module should be installed, or which module should be used inside which node, and all we will be able to specify inside site.pp. So please don't consider init.pp as specific to a node. Init.pp is the default manifest file inside a module. Okay. Okay, good. So anyone else, any other doubt regarding the topic that we covered last day? So Rajat is having another doubt. Okay, I have doubts regarding variant configuration. I received some connection timeout saying I have sent mail to tag email. Can you please respond to that? Okay, Rajita, actually all the emails that I received, I already replied to. What you can do is you can resend that email once again. And one more thing, please, when you send the email, please send the whole trail, like what is the command that executed and what is the output that you received for each command. It should be a detailed email, okay, so that if there is any issue I can identify, because most of the issues will come with the execution of command. Like if you execute a command wrongly, then there may be issues. So if you send only the last section or where you are getting the error, then I won't know whether it is due to the initial command execution or not. Okay, so when you send those emails, please send a detailed thing with everything from the beginning itself. Like from initial step by step, you can specify, okay, I did this, I executed this command, and this is the output that I got for that particular command. And like that, detailed email you can send, and I'll check, can get back to you. Okay. Now Vivek is asking, so site.pp is like a global variable and init.pp is local to module inside that global variable. Vivek, please don't confuse with global variable. Like if I compare this as global variable, then you will be confusing it with the actual variables that are used in Puppet. So please don't compare it with global variable. What you can do is you can consider this site.pp is for an environment like production environment or testing environment or staging environment, like that. But init.pp is for module inside that particular environment that you are working in. Is it clear? So that site.pp is for a specific set of nodes. Like you can specify, say, 5 nodes in environment in production environment, and say another 5 nodes in testing environment. So initially what you will be doing is you will be deploying the application in that testing environment first, and after testing only you will make sure that everything is working fine without any issue in the testing environment. After that is complete, only you will be pushing that to production environment. So this site.p, if you have a site.pp file in the manifest folder of that testing environment, then that testing nodes that you have specified will be using that site.pp. Okay, but if you have specified another site.pp inside the production environments manifest folder, then that site.pp will be used to manage nodes that are in your production environment. Okay, so those two won't overlap, those environments won't overlap, those instances or nodes that are there in different environments, it won't overlap. Okay, but init.pp, it will be inside modules. Like testing environment can have the same module, a production environment also can have the same module. So it will be a different directory set. It will be like having different directories to control your different environments. Okay, so I hope it's clearer now, Vivek. Okay, good. So any other doubt, anyone? Okay, so it looks like there are no other doubts, so let's proceed with today's session. So today also we'll see a bit more in detail about Puppet. Then these are the things that we saw. We created the Puppet lab, then we installed Puppet agent on the nodes, then Puppet server on the Puppet server we saw. Then we saw about signing the nodes, how to do that, all those things we saw. And this one will help you, like if you are using Vagrant, then you can get the Vagrant file from this particular URL, so that you can try out these commands in Vagrant if you want. But I'll be using Docker for my examples. Okay, now what we are going to do is we are going to see the Puppet configuration tree. Okay, so Nayanand is asking, is init.pp mandatory to have, or I can rename it to my.pp? Nayanand, init.pp is mandatory. Like Puppet will by default look for a manifest file with init.pp inside a module. So you can have another manifest file, but it will always expect you to have one init.pp along with other manifest files. Okay, so now see the configuration information, like you'll see. Okay, so this is my server and this is my node, Puppet node, and now the signing is complete. So now what I'll do is I'll do say ls minus l slash opt. There will be one folder in your server. There will be one folder called opt, and then there will be another folder, subfolder called Puppet Labs, and inside that there will be a Puppet folder. Okay, so this particular folder, this particular location is used for Puppet. Like it is. This is where all the configuration information is stored. So this is where Puppet software resides. Okay, so the Puppet software will reside in this particular location. So you won't be editing in any of these files or any of this folder. You won't be working on. So you won't be editing this unless you know what you are doing. Okay, because it will corrupt the Puppet software. So you won't be working in this one, but just understand that this is where Puppet stores all its default things, like its software. Actual Puppet software resides in this particular folder. Okay, but there is another folder called, Vivek is asking binaries. Vivek is including binaries. See, inside this bin, you will have the binaries, then libraries and SSL. All those default things that Puppet needs will be there in this particular folder, in this particular directory. Okay. Now there is another folder called ls-l slash etc Puppet Labs code folder. So there will be one folder like this slash etc Puppet Labs code. So this is where all the configuration is stored. So this is where you will be working on. Okay, so please understand that Puppet is very fast, or each configuration management is very fast. You can take say 2 days or 10 days to complete each configuration management tool. So what I'll be doing is I'll be demoing you the essentials of what you need to know to understand that. So once you have this basic covered, you will be able to understand or study on your own to get more understanding. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is the default. This is a location where all the configuration information will be stored. So this is where you will be working on. This is the environments folder, and inside that you can create different environments. Okay, so if you do say tree and that particular folder, you will see a lot of items that are there. So see, there are a lot of items that are there in that one. So but we'll be working on this code folder. This is coming because I have copied some default items inside that one. Okay, so now there is something called slash etc Puppet Labs Puppet. Okay, so this is the location where all the keys and those signed keys and PEM files, all those things are stored in here in this location. See, there is one SSL folder inside slash etc Puppet Labs Puppet. So inside that you will have certificates like Now just see this puppet node 1.pem, that is the key that is signed for this particular node. So all those things will be residing in this particular location. So all those certificates and everything, private keys and all those things will be there in this particular location. Okay, so this is that folder. So all the keys like configuration directory, here you will have the key files including the nodes that you have signed. Okay, so now there is one interesting command, like there is one command called puppet config print. So this command, if you execute, it will give you the list of configurations. It will print the configurations that are there in the Puppet. These are the various configurations that are available at the moment in Puppet. So all those things, like if you want to identify a particular thing, like if you only want to get this fag path, then what you can do is you can do this fag path, like on Puppet config print fag path, and you will get that particular value. So this is like key value option. Okay, so if you want to get a particular value, particular configuration value, if you want to print a particular configuration value, then you can print like this. Okay, so then these are the important folders that are there in Puppet. Sorry, these are different folders that are there in Puppet, like stat issues, etc, Puppet labs code. This you just need to understand, like these things are there, like the log messages will be there in this particular location, and all those things will be there in the configuration. So see this fact path, the facts output of the factor will be there in this particular location. So all those things you will be able to get from this particular configuration section. Okay, now these are the terms that we use. This we already saw. Vivek is asking what is orchestration. Okay, Vivek, when you are going into clustering, when you are going into clustering of instances, at that time you'll need orchestration. Orchestration means like combining your structuring those instances, like some instances will act as say database server, some instances will act as application server. So those orchestration, like structuring of the instances into the different services or sections that you want, that is what orchestration is. Okay, so now Khadi is asking what is a fact path. Khadi, fact path is just the path of the facts. Like when we execute factor, it will get the details of that particular node, right? So that facts will be there in this path, and also this fact path is just the name of that configuration used by Puppet. Okay. Now regarding this Puppet terms, first is Puppet master. This should know the master server that controls configuration on the nodes. Then Puppet agent node. This is where the actual configuration will happen. This is what is being configured by the configuration management tool. Then manifest is a file that contains a set of instructions or configuration informations to be executed. Then resource, we saw like each section in a manifest will be considered as resource. Then module is a collection of manifests and other related files organized in a predefined way, like it is for a particular action. So if you want a set of files, or if you want to execute a particular set of resources, then you will combine it into a module. Then class, just like with regular programming languages, classes are used in Puppet to better organize the provisioning and making it easier to use portions of the code. Like when you use classes, it will be easier for it to reuse. Like if you create a class, then the same class can be reused. Sorry, can be used multiple times. Okay. Now facts is the global variable containing information about the systems like network interfaces, operating system, and all those things. Okay, then services is just the resource type. It is used to trigger service status changing, like restarting, stopping a service, enabling that it is running, all those things. Okay, now coming to Puppet resources. Before that, Khadi is asking what is fact path. Khadi, I already explained what fact path is. Fact path is just a configuration variable in Puppet. So see, this is a fact path. When you, if you want to get that particular value of that particular configuration variable, then you can execute this one, and it will give you the output. It will give you that value for that one. So but that what that does is it will have the details, information that is provided by the factor. So it will have the facts, it will have the details regarding your nodes. Okay. Now, Puppet resources. Last class we saw uh, some Puppet resources, but this is a common syntax that we will be using. There will be something called resource type, like package. It can be a package or resource, or sorry, package or service or file, or any type of uh, resource type. Then followed by the title. Title is a unique name for the resource declaration. Okay. Now there can be a name which will be a string value, but it is optional. You can either give name or you can ignore name. If you don't specify name, the title will be considered as the name. Okay, if name is missing, then title is used as a name. Then we'll have different attribute name and the value corresponding to that. Okay, so these are some examples of like package resource. Here Apache to like I'll show you. Before that, what I'll do is I'll show you this etc puppet labs, then puppet slash puppet.conf file. So see, there is one configuration file in this particular location. Okay, so this will have the particular configuration information for the puppet will be stored in, like the variables that are used or value for the variables, like see the log directory for master means for all will be there in this particular location. So all those things will be here. So when you do this print, it will include all those things. It will include files from this one and everything. Okay, so if you want to know the configuration variables, or if you want to change the configuration variables or location, if you want to change the location of the log directory and all, then what you can do is you can edit this section, edit this particular file and change it. Okay, but it is better to use the default location so that you won't be breaking the Puppet infrastructure or breaking the Puppet system. Now, one more thing I want to show you is, see, inside this Puppet Lab, I have told you there is this code folder. Inside code environments is there, then production environment, and there is one something called environment.conf. See, this environment.conf can have inside this configuration file also we can have these things. So if you specify or if you override, you will be able to override the values for these variables inside this environment.conf file. So if you specify like inside this log dir, if you specify some other path inside your environment.conf, then whatever nodes that are inside that particular environment will be using the log directory as the new path. So this particular value will be overwritten for nodes that are in this particular environment. So like that, specific environment based variables and all you'll be able to specify using these files. Okay, and also when you execute this factor command, you will be able to get the details information regarding that particular node. Now I have executed inside my server, so it will show the details of the server. Okay, so now let's come back to resources. I'll tell you, like say you can have on file resource, like when you have on file resource you will have say slash test.txt. This is what we saw as last class. Okay, and here we will add the content like this. So here, so content, some content. Okay, so in this particular case, here this is the title. Okay, so see, this is the title. So this slash text.txt is the title, and this is the attribute and value. So here there is no name section. So what it will do is it will create a file in this path mentioned in the title itself. Okay, but instead of that, what you can do is you can create something like, say, instead of this you can get like, sorry, creating file, and here what you can do is you can add something called, say, name. Here you can add, say, test.txt. So both these things will do the same thing. Like if you add a resource like this or like this, it will do the same thing. It will create a file called test.txt with this content in the slash folder in this directory. But you can write it in these ways, like if there is no title, then it will use name as the sorry, if there is no name specified, then it will use the title as the name. So clear? Now Vivek wants me to explain environment variable environment.conf once again. Okay, okay, so now Vivek, see, when I execute it, when I see the content of this Puppet conf, these variables, it is for the whole of Puppet. Like if you don't edit anything, if you want to use the default, then you can use this one. Okay, so it will be the default one that will be used. This is the master conf. Yes, exactly. This is the master configuration. Now, if you want to change any of this variable, like if you want to change the value of this log directory for nodes that are there in your production environment, then what you can do is you can have an environment.conf inside that production folder, and that particular thing inside that particular file you can override this one. You can add say log directory as something as like slash log slash test or something, like you can specify, and for those nodes that are inside that particular environment will use that path. Is it clear? Yes, exactly. So we say specific to the environment, we can edit environment. Yes. So specific to the environment, you will be able to change the variables. The environment variables you will be changing. Okay. Okay. Please give me 1 minute. I'll be back. 1 minute. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm back. So Vivek is asking, env.conf is by default created under that path. Vivek, no. Like when you want to create a new folder, you will have to create this environment.conf. But you can use one dummy conf file and you can edit that one. But when you are creating your own environments, at that time you will be creating this one. So environment is just a folder. Okay, it is just a directory structure, and you will be creating the directory. So it is up to you. Like you can just copy paste one default environment and then use that. It's up to you how you do this. Okay. Now, like I mentioned the last class, Vivek is asking from where we'll copy. Vivek, see, environment.conf is just a conf file, just a file. It is just like a text file. See, these are comments. You can just ignore this one. So it will be like it will be a text file, and you can add variables like this. Whatever variables that you want to use for that particular environment, you will be able to specify like this. Okay, and if you specify a node name, you'll be able to specify a node name. Like if you want to specify a particular variable for a particular node, then you'll be able to, instead of master, you can just copy paste this thing inside your environment.conf, and there you can specify like say puppet node 1 log directory should be something else, like that you'll be able to do. Okay, so now in the last class I mentioned that there are resources, like there are around 53 resources in Puppet, resource types in Puppet. So in order to get that resource, what you can do is you can execute the command puppet resource minus minus types, and you will get the list of all the resources that are available with Puppet. See, these are the list of resources that are available with Puppet. Okay, so if you want to get an account of that one, see, let me see number of resource, and you can see that there are 53 resource types. Okay, now if you want the details of a particular resource, then like I showed you last day, you can use puppet describe followed by that resource type, and it will show you the details regarding that particular resource type and examples on how to use that. Okay, Now this is what I mentioned. You can use the describe section, and if you want to know more about the resources, these are the main resources like package, service, file, user, exec. These are the default resources. Exec is used to execute commands directly. Like you'll be able to execute binary commands directly with the help of exec resource type. Okay, so these are the main resources that are there in Puppet, but there are 53 resources, and if you go to this URL, you will get a detailed idea about those resources. Okay, so this is another example of package. Like this is for Apache. Here, this is the resource type, followed by the title, which is Apache, and here we have specified name HTTPD. So what it means is this name is only for reference. The actual package name is this one. So this it will be looking for package's name HTTPD and all. Okay, so like this you'll be able to specify. If you specify, like if you want to specify a provider, like if you want to specify a provider like apt-get or yum or anything, then you can manually add like this. If you want to force a provider, then you can add like this provider you can add. But if you don't provide this, then Puppet will automatically take the identify the provider based on the facts or the output of the factor command. So this is one example of services resource type. So here you'll have the service name, sorry, service title, then the name, then ensure that it's running enabled and all. Then has status, like whether to use the init script, like what is the status. If you want to have a health check or if the service is running, then you can use this has status. And when you are using this has status, it will be looking for this particular pattern or this particular process is running or not. Okay, then managing files, you can use file resource to manage file. You can create file, you can specify the path of the file, then source. If you want to specify a source of the file, then that also you can do. Then content, you can directly give, ownership, owner group, mode, all those things you will be able to specify. If it is a directory, then you can give recursive as true and it will create the whole directory structure. Then exec is used to execute commands like I mentioned. So here you can specify using command, you will be able to specify the command that you want to execute, then path creates, then only if and unless this we'll see. Only if and unless we'll see. But so these are the things that you can do with exec. Now Akhil is asking what is default path for resource file. Akhil, I'm not sure what do you mean by resource file. Can you please elaborate your question? Akhil is saying the resources we create can be created anywhere. Akhil, the resources that we created will be inside the manifest file. So you'll create your manifest file or you'll create your module, and inside the module you'll create your manifest file. And inside that manifest file you'll be writing these resources. So you will be the one who is deciding where to write that on or inside which environment this should go into. Okay. Now for managing usage, like there is a resource type called user, and here you'll be able to give the name, then user ID, group ID, then password for the user. All those things you'll be able to specify, like home directory for the user. All those things you'll be able to specify with the user resource type. So these are some major resource types that are there in Puppet. So this one we saw. Now if you use this head, you'll be able to see the initial set of resource type. So it will show you first 10 or something resource type, and if you want to see the first say 15 resource type, then you can use head 15 like this. Okay, sorry. Okay, so now Khadi is asking what is head. Khadi, head is just this command line. Inside command line, if you only want to get the top section of a particular file, if a content is long, too long, And if you only want to see the first 10 lines, then you can use this pipe head and it will show only the first 20 lines, like that. Okay, this is a command line command. Okay, now this one we saw. Then Puppet will describe. Vivek is saying prints from the top of the file. Exactly. So it will print from the top of the line and it will terminate, like it will only print the first 10 by default. Okay, now this is the user command that we saw as an example. Then resource dependency. Okay, so now when you're talking about resources, sorry, when you're talking about resources, at that time we saw, like we saw this ensure install and require package. This one we saw, right? I already told you about this require in the first class, but like I mentioned, Puppet, in Puppet, the execution of command is not in the order that we write. We can't be sure. Like it is not guaranteed that the execution of resources will be in the order that you write. So for that, you will be, in order to specify the order of that particular resource execution. If you want to specify a order for the resource execution, then you will have to use resource dependency. Like if you use this ensure and this install, it means it will be installed. But if you want to ensure, like if you want to make sure that this particular resource is executed before executing this add repository, then what you can do is you can specify this require section and it will ensure that this package, like package this one, is executed before this particular resource is executed. Okay, so here also please remember about the case sensitivity in Puppet. Here when you define define a resource, it will be small letter, but when you are referring that particular resource, it will be capital letter, it will be uppercase. That is starts with uppercase. Okay, so here there is something called before executor. So what it will do is, if you specify like this inside this package car, it will specify like before this one. What it will ensure is, before executing this particular resource, which is exec install script, it will ensure that this is installed or this is executed before this. So these are different ways in which you can specify the order of execution. Okay, now this is the manifest folder. So manifest file. So the Puppet programs are called manifests, and manifests are composed of Puppet code and their file name. So the default main manifest in Puppet is installed by apt. Installed by apt is in this particular folder. Okay, now manifest file, we already saw what manifest file is. Kadi wants me to explain this last slide. Kadi, is this slide, is this resource dependency you want me to explain again? Okay, see, Kadi, like I mentioned, if you want to specify an order, like if you have say if you have say two resources, in this particular case, you have two resources. First one is to install the curl package or install the curl software, and another one is to use that curl software to get a particular file from download a particular file from, or print a particular file from the internet. Okay, so in order to execute this one, you should need the curl software, right? So there is no way you can, like you can be guaranteed, it will be guaranteed that Puppet will execute in the order in which that you write. So what you will do is, you will either use like before, like inside the package you will execute like before and followed by this. What it means is, before executing this particular resource, it should execute this one. So here we are instructing Puppet that, okay, before executing this particular resource, which is this one, it should execute the current resource. Okay, so another way is to use this require thing. So these two have the same functionality. Okay, so if you use before in this particular package section, or in this particular resource, or if you use require in this particular exec, it is of the same functionality. Like it will achieve the same thing. Both will ensure that this particular resource is installed or executed before this is executed. So clear, Kathy? Okay, now this manifest we saw, we'll be writing your resource declarations in the inside the manifest file. Now inside manifest you'll be able to use variables also. Okay, so like okay, so this one is say resource types. Okay, now what I'll do is now what I'll do is I'll create a new manifest file. Okay, so inside this manifest folder, I'm going to create a demo.pp file. So I'm going to create a manifest file. Okay, so here I'm going to create a file resource. So here I'm specifying to create a demo.txt file, and I want to specify the content of this particular file as content arrow then sample file content. Okay, so this is what how we normally write the file resource, right? So this will create a demo.a file. Now if I do say cat manifest demo.pp, this is the content of my demo. Now if I want to test, what I'll do is I'll execute puppet apply manifest slash demo.pp. So now this will execute this particular manifest in my server, inside my server. So it will create a particular file inside the slash folder which is demo a.txt, and you can see the content of that particular thing. Okay, now instead of this one, instead of having to write like this, you will be able to use variables also. Okay, so instead of this, what you can do is you can declare a variable first, like say my war or something. This is the variable that name that you are going to use. Then my demo content, sorry, my demo content from a variable. Okay, so now what you can do is instead of this content, I can directly use this particular variable like my war. Like this, I'll be able to use. So now if I execute this particular the recipe, oh sorry, manifest once again, what I'll do, what I'll get, can anyone tell me what I'll get? Akhil is saying nothing. Akhil, can you tell me why it will give nothing? Akhil is saying same. Kadi is saying it will take the new name. Mahesh is saying the new content will be loaded. Exactly, Mahesh. So it will load the new content. So if you do the demo care, it will be changing the content. Like because we have changed the resource, right? We have changed the manifest file and we have specified that okay, this file should be present and this file's content should be this one. You have specified like that. So instead of directly giving those values, you'll be able to use the variables as well. Khyadi is asking, but Puppet is idempotent. How can we change it? See, Khyadi, Puppet is idempotent, but we have changed the content. We have specified that, okay, I want to change the content of that particular file. You have changed the resource. You have changed the uh, configuration information you have changed, right? So now, see, now this is the content of the demo a.pp txt, right? So now if I execute this again, nothing will happen because the content is same, the file is already there, and the content is still the same. So you don't change anything. But if the content is not correct with that of the manifest file, then it will change. That is why we are saying Khyadi puppet is idempotent. Okay, is it clear? Then Prapanshu is asking, can you tell me, can you let me know for installation of Puppet node using Docker, what is the use of this command? Docker pull Shogni Docker Puppet node Ubuntu. No, actually that is to pull. Like normally you should pull the image into your local cache before creating the container. Without executing this, you can directly create the container also. But this one will pull. Like when you get time, you can do this pull, and once it is done, later on you will be able to create the container. with that particular image. That is just for local caching of that particular image. Okay, now Khadi, I will explain this once again. So now in this particular case, let's change the content of that demo.txt, demo a.txt. Okay, so say added this line. Okay, now slash demo a.txt. If you do say cat slash demo a.txt, you can see the file content is changed, right? Now the file content is changed, but if you go to our manifest demo.pp, we want to ensure we have specified that this is the content of that file. This file should be there, and this should be the content of that file. So now when Puppet compares, it will say that this is not the content of the file. This is not the content of that file because it has got something more in that one. So now when I execute this demo.pp, what it will do is it will change the content of that file, because that is what you have specified in your configuration information. Is it clear? Now, if you do this cat demo A, you can see the content of the file is what you have specified in your manifest file. Now, if you execute this once again, it won't do anything because already the file is there and the content is same. Okay. Now, Prapanshu is asking, what is the use of Docker run -pi --rm network name puppet node on host name puppet node on slash shogni slash puppet. Prapanshu, this is the command that we use to create the container. See, this puppet node, particular node is created using that particular command. Here we are using Docker to create that container. Then we are specifying that that particular container should be in this particular network. Then I am specifying giving the name for the node as puppet node 1, and I am specifying the host name for the node as puppet node 1, and I am porting this particular IP address so that I can browse and see. And this is the name of the image that I am using. So clear, Prapanshu? Now Akhil is asking, so here if we mention default in demo.pp, it will create file in all nodes which has certificate exchanged. No. See, here I am executing this demo.pp directly on my server itself. Okay, here I am only executing this demo.pp on my server. See, this is just to show you this variable. I am creating this one just to show you the variable. So now this won't be executed on anything. Okay, so because you haven't specified anything, like now this is just a test thing. We won't be using this one. Okay. Okay, Pravanch is saying I'm getting an error after typing puppet agent. A puppet agent -t saying unknown puppet command. Prabhanshu, I saw your email and I replied to your email. So please, when you send the email, please send me the commands that you used from the beginning. It's like the command that you used to create the containers and everything you need to send. So from your question, since it was incomplete, since I didn't have all the information, I would assume that there is nothing called, like, first thing is you have to create the network called Puppet. Then second thing is you should create your server with host name and name as Puppet. So those things you have to do first, and then only you should execute this command. See, I have specified in my in my video, I have mentioned in my video, and also in the document I have specified the order in which that you have to execute. Please try out everything in that particular order. Okay. Okay, so let's proceed. So this one we saw like how to use variables. Then you'll be able to use loops in Puppet, like this, like array. You'll be able to use, like, this will be an array, and if you want to loop through, you can specify that array variable name, and it will ensure that all these things are installed and out. So if you want to use .is, if you want to support additional ways, like if you want to get additional ways of iterating, then you can use .is, but it is there only from the version 4 of Puppet. Okay, so these are various ways in which you can do, like conditions, like if condition is there, then else condition is there. There are a lot of things that are there with Puppet commands. Like Puppet language, it is very flexible. You will be able to use conditions, then loops, cases, all those things you will be able to use. Okay, so now in this one, sorry, here you can see something called only if. What it will do is, if you use this particular attribute, then what it will do is, it will execute this particular resource only if this condition is true. Okay, so this is condition. So this section will be executed only if this condition is true. But if you use unless, what it will do is, it will execute this section every time except when this condition is true. So this will be executed. This, if you use unless, then it will execute if the condition is false, and if you use only if, then it will execute only if that particular condition is true. Is this clear? The difference between only if and unless, is it clear? Okay, good. Now template file, like you'll be able to create templates. So like I mentioned, like there is EPP and ERB, two templates are available, and you'll be able to use templates like when you specify in Ruby syntax, if you specify like this, then that particular variable will be replaced with the value. This we already saw in our chef examples, so that is also applicable in Puppet as well. Then if you want to specify a template variable, like if you want to specify a content for a file from a particular file that you created from your machine, then you can create the content like this. We'll see an example for this one. Then defining and triggering. So this one, see, like you'll be able to use notify. Like when you specify notify, what it will do is, this will trigger this particular resource. So after the execution of this particular resource, this file resource, what it will do is, it will trigger the execution of this service. So like this, you will be able to trigger services and all those things. Now class. Now before that, Akhil has a doubt: is Puppet language used anywhere else apart from Puppet, and are there enough docs online? Akhil, yes, like as I mentioned, Puppet documentation is one of the best documentation for any configuration management tool out there. Okay, so there are a lot of documentations available, and Puppet language is similar to the Ruby language. Only thing is, it's more human readable. That is the only thing. Okay, so when you write this command, write this resource file or manifest file, then it will be like writing your Ruby file, writing a Ruby file with the thing. Okay, but Puppet, using Puppet, it will be more flexible. If you use Puppet DSL, then it will be more flexible. That is the only thing. You'll be able to write your commands in Ruby language directly as well. That's up to you. Okay, now we are coming to classes. So this is very important. Like classes, like in Puppet, classes are code blocks that can be called in a code elsewhere. Like I mentioned, you can define a class, and once you define the class, you will be able to use that class anywhere, any number of times. Also, you'll be able to use that class. So there are two things in classes. This we saw in the last class. So there is something called class definition and class declaration. So what is class definition? A class definition is where the code that composes a class lives. So defining a class makes the class available to be used in manifest. So what you'll do is, when you say that, okay, you define a class, at that time what you'll do is, you will define the content of the class. Okay, what that class is meant to do, that you will define. That is what class definition is, and this is how you can define a class using class keyword followed by the class name, open parenthesis and close parenthesis, and it says that you can add the code. Okay, and the second thing is called class declaration. Class declaration is where you'll be using that class, the class that you defined using this class definition. You'll be using this class declaration. Okay, class declaration occurs when a class is called in a manifest file or class is used in a manifest file. A class declaration tells Puppet to evaluate the code within the class. Class declaration, there are two different flavors. First is normal and another one is resource like class declaration. So in normal style, like in the like in the object oriented programming languages, you'll use include. We'll use the include keyword. So you'll be using like include example underscore class. So like this, you'll be calling this particular class that we had defined, like class example class. You'll be calling in normal using normal class declaration. You'll be using like this, using the include keyword. Okay. Now, in the case of resource style class declaration, what you'll do is you'll call it like this: class open parenthesis close parenthesis and like this colon like this. You'll have to specify. This is how you will use resource like class declaration. Okay, so I'll explain a bit more. So class, I'm going to add a class definition. Okay, so in order to define a class, what you will do is first you have to use the keyword class followed by the class name. Here the class name is example class. Okay, the code that you want inside the class you will write inside this particular section. Okay, so this is the class definition. Now I'm going to show you class declaration. Okay, so class declaration, there are two ways in which you can use this particular class. So the first way is to use include keyword. So first way is used to include keyword, include class. So if you specify like this is the normal class declaration. So normal class declaration. Okay, so now there is something called resource style class declaration. That is when you call this class in a different way, like if you call this class like this example class like this. If you call a particular class like this, if you call this example class like this, like class open parenthesis close parenthesis and with this class name followed by this colon, what this means is this is called resource style class declaration. Is this clear? Is this two type of class declaration clear to all of you? Is the difference clear to all of you? These are same, like when I use include example class example underscore class, or if I use class like this, both will have the same result. Both will execute the content inside this class. Okay, Khadi wants me to explain again. Okay, Khadi, see, you can define a class like this using the class keyword followed by the class name, and here inside you will add the code of the class. Okay, so like you will be adding a resource, like you will be adding this file resource inside your class. Okay, so you will be adding, so this particular class named example class will have this particular resource, but this is only definition. This won't execute this resource. There is no execution. This is just definition. Okay, now if you want to use this particular class, if you want to execute this particular resource, then what you have to do is you have to declare that class. So in order to declare, there are two ways. So first you will declare, like if you declare it as include example underscore class, then it will realize this, it will evaluate this one and it will execute this file. This is one way of declaring the class. Okay, now there is one more way of declaring the class, which is called resource style class declaration. Here what you will do is you will use this syntax to use that class, this syntax to declare that class, like class open parenthesis close parenthesis. Instead you will have class name followed by this colon. These are the two ways of using this particular class. Is it clear, Khadi? Now Ajinkya is asking how to define normal class. Ajinkya, this is how you will define a class. This is how you define a normal class. This is how to uh, there is no definition. Like, see, definition, there is only one way, one syntax for the definition, like class name followed by open parenthesis and close parenthesis. This is the only definition possible. This declaration can be of two types. So see, this declaration or this declaration points to the same class. Okay, so now Akhil is asking, can you show example of resource type class definition? Akhil, there is no change in the definition. Definition of the class is the same. For the same class, you can either use this or this. Both are okay. Both ways you can declare the same class. See, definition will always be like this, always be in this format. There won't be any change irrespective of how you are declaring that one. Definition will always stay the same. Is it clear, Akhil? Okay. Now, Khadi asks, which declaration is more common? Khadi, that will depend. Like, see, when you use this declaration style class, sorry, resource style class declaration, then you'll be able to pass parameters. See here, if your class has got parameters, then like I'll show you. So parameter class definition with parameters. Okay, so I'm going to write another class definition with parameters. Okay. Okay, so I'll just copy this one. Okay, so here I'm going to name it as another class. Okay, so here what you can do is you can use this open brace and close brace, bracket, open bracket and close brace, and here you can space say var1 equals say some variable 1, then followed by say $var2 equals some variable 2. Like this, you'll be able to create your class. So here your class is expecting two variables, and you are specifying, okay, this is the default value for that variables to be used. Okay, so now when you have to declare this particular class declaration. Okay, so now if you want to declare this particular class, then what you will have to do is you will have to use the resource style class declaration like this. You will have to use like class, then here you'll use a name of the, you'll give the name of the class like this, you'll see, and then you'll specify say var1, like say new value 1 comma say var2 new value 2, like this you have to use. So in this normal style, normal class declaration, you won't be able to pass values for parameters. You won't be able to pass parameters. But using resource style class declaration, you will be able to pass parameters. That is the difference between normal class declaration and resource style class declaration. Is this clear? Okay, cool. Now let's proceed. So these are the various features, like in Puppet you can have variables and data types, condition statements, parameters, function, all those things you will be able to have. These are the data types that can be used: string, integer, float, numeric, boolean, array, lot of like hash, regular expression, undefined, undef is for undefined, then default, all those things, data types you'll be able to use. And these are the comparison operations that you can use, like equality, non-equality, less than, greater than. This is similar to any program, most of programming languages. Then regex data type match will be, it is possible with Puppet using these formats and all. Okay, like in operator also is available to check whether a particular set of values is there in a string and all those things. Okay, then conditions you have if, unless, case, selector, then else if you have, all those things you will have in your thing. Okay, now in Puppet there is something called resource collector. Okay, so what resource collector is that? Like you'll be able to get a details of these resource collectors in this particular URL, but the resource collector, like you can specify, if you specify using this this bracket pipe, within that one, if you specify, what it will do is it will collect that particular resource. Okay, so like if you specify like this, then it will collect a single user resource whose title is Luke. Okay, this is like filtering or getting the data based on a particular condition from a set of data. Okay, so this will collect user with name Luke or title Luke from the list, and this one will collect a set of yeah, set of groups with admin, like will collect any resources whose list of supplemental groups include, like when you create your user you can specify the groups, right? So all those users that you have created with which have specified group as admin will be collected in this particular case. Like this is how you will be able to collect the data. Like you will be collect if you will be able to collect a single value, single resource, or you will be able to collect multiple resource based on a common value. So all those things you will be able to do with Puppet. Okay, question is asking similar to C or C++. Yes, if you are talking about class include and all, yes. Vivek is asking what is mean by resource collecting. Okay, so Vivek, if you want to collect resources by the same attribute value, then you will be able to use resource collector. So here using resource collector, you will be able to collect resources by the attribute value. You will be able to filter those resources based on the attribute value. Like if you want to get a set of resources with this particular attribute value, then you can execute like this. And if you want to specify another set of resources with this particular attribute value for this particular attribute name, then you can do like that. So all those things you will be able to do using resource collector. That is what resource collecting is. Is it clear, Vivek? Okay. Yes, Vivek saying have to read more. Yes, Vivek, you will have to read more details, but just understand that this is to collect information. Like this is to filter resources based on the attribute value. Okay, then there's something called relationships and ordering. Like I mentioned, you can specify orders using before, require, all those things. So Akhil is asking resource collectors will be written in .pp file. Yes, you'll be able to use resource collectors in .pp file. Okay, so here when you use this before attribute, what before attribute, and you say this file, what it does is it is creating a relation between this particular resource and this file resource. Okay, and this can be used for ordering also. Like before executing this file resource, this particular resource will be executed. This one we already saw. Like this you'll be able to use relationships and ordering. Like class parameters we saw, like how to use class with parameters we saw. Like using this you'll be able to uh, specify the parameter. The default value can be specified, and that default value can be changed when you call that class. Okay, so now this is the vector, this is the factor output. So when you execute the factor command, you will get a list of facts, or the data attributes collected from factor command is called facts, and it will give you the list of details regarding that particular node. Okay, and you can also specify custom facts when you go advanced with Puppet. Okay, and when you use facts, it has got built-in variables also, like this fact variables that are collected by this factor. Those values you'll be able to use in your manifest as well. Inside your pp file, you'll be able to use that as well. For that, what you have to do is you have to use the variable dollar facts. So dollar facts will have the fact of each and every node, or whenever that node is executed, at that time the fact of that particular node will be available inside this particular facts variable. Okay, so now when I execute it, like say, let me execute factor in here. So this is my node, and here when I execute a factor, see there, this is a structure. Inside there is OS. So if you want to get that thing, you have to do like OS within bracket. You have to use OS. Then inside OS you have the family and this Debian. Like you'll be able to use that particular fact variable like this. So clear? This is like using two-dimensional or three-dimensional array. Okay, so if you want to check whether this is a Debian, the OS family is Debian or Red Hat or Ubuntu, like that, if you want to specify, then what you can do is you can do like this. So like this, all these variables, like if you want to get the IP address, then what you can do is you can do facts networking, and inside that you can get IP to get the IP address. All those things you will be able to get. But as I mentioned, this is in a structured format, like a JSON output, and you'll be able to loop through that values. And as I mentioned, this all every time when you get this facts from any node, it will be in the same format, so it won't give you any error. So even if it is Windows machine or Linux machine or any other machine, it will give you in the same output format. It will give, only the values will change. Okay, so this you will be able to see more about that one. Then this is what we saw, like how to use variables. You will be able to specify that variable like this, and you can use that variable using the variable name. Okay, this is conditional statement, like you can specify unless this is true, this will be executed. So all those things, like normal case conditional statement, all those things you will be able to use with Puppet. This is for case, like a switch case, and all those things. If you want to use, you can use case, like if this is true, like if it's specified like this, the value, if it is Solaris, then this will be executed. Then if it is Red Hat or CentOS, then it will be, and then this will be executed. And regex also you'll be able to specify in that. And if none of this is true, if the value is something else like Windows or something, then this default will be executed. So you will be able to use cases also in Puppet. Then selector also you'll be able to use, like see, you can select the variable, like if this particular thing is question mark, means value, based on the value of this particular thing, it will select which one to use. Like if it is true, if it is Solaris, then it will set this particular value for this root group. And if it is Darwin or free BSD, then it will use the same root group. The value for root group will be wheel. But if it is anything else, then the value of root group will be root, and you can use that variable inside your resource. And also there are a lot of things that you can do with Puppet variables and resources. All those like normal programming language, whatever things that you have with looping, conditions, cases, all those things you'll be able to use with the help of Puppet. Okay. Now, Virendra is saying there is problem with my voice. So, can all of you hear me? Is there any issue with my voice? Can you please reply? Okay, Virendra, it looks like others are able to hear me. So, please check your end of the connection. Okay. Now, Akhil is asking what is generic role used in default. Okay, see this variable, like what is that? See this one, it is calling a class. It is including a particular class. So here a class called generic within this role colon colon generic class is being included if it is the default value. So this is just an example. Okay, Akhil? Okay, now like if else, like you can use if else statements like if less if, then else you'll be able like this, if else you'll be able to use like this. Then rejects also you'll be able to specify like this will look for uh, this will look for values from like www1 www2 www3, all those things it will be checking. You will be able to use regex to compare and this one. So this is really powerful. Now I hope you understand how powerful the Puppet language can be. So when you go deep into Puppet, you'll be able to use condition. If you want to use say conditional and lot of conditions and use lot of cases in your scenario, then you'll be using Puppet as your configuration management tool, because there are lot of options that you can do. Then Kadi is asking why regex is used. Regex, like say Kadi now, what it will do is this will search for values like if this trusted has and surname has a name starting with www1 or www2 dot or www3 dot like that, then all those things inside this particular condition will be true. Okay, so using regex you will be able to group, you'll be able to search in group. Like you won't be able to you won't be needed to search individually and check whether it is true or not. If you use regex, it will match a pattern that is used for comparing patterns. Regex is used for comparing patterns. This is regular expression. Okay, comparing patterns with the help of expressions. Okay. Okay, so now before we now time is 8:16. So let's take a 15 minutes break. After the break, we'll continue. Okay, so we'll take a 15 minutes break. We'll be back at say 8:31. Hello and welcome back everyone. So before we restart, can you please confirm that you guys can hear me well and see my screen? Okay, good. So let's proceed. So when it comes to templates in Puppet, there are two formats, so two types of templates that are supported by Puppet. First is EPP, which is embedded Puppet, and another one is ERB, which is embedded Ruby. So EPP stands for embedded Puppet, and the language is consistent with Puppet because it uses the Puppet DSL and it supports parameters. Okay, but when it comes to ERB, which is embedded Ruby, the language is sorry, the language is different from Puppet, but it does not support parameters. ERB does not support parameters, but EPP supports parameters. Preferably use EPP because it supports parameters, but it is relatively new and is available only for Puppet 4.0 onwards. So if you want to code or work with legacy Puppet software or software versions which are lower than 4.0, then you will have to use ERB. You will need to know the ERB templates. Okay, so these URLs will give you a detailed idea about those different types of templates. So when it comes to EPP and ERB, this is the difference. Like when you are working with say ERB template, then you'll be sorry, if you are working with EPP templates, when you are uh, calling that template function or template file, you'll be using this EPP content. You'll be using EPP and then followed by the template name, which will have the extension of .epp, and along with that you'll be able to pass your parameters. But when it comes to .erb template, you will be calling it using the template keyword, and you just need to specify the template file name, which is .erb. It will have .erb extension. So here you won't be able to pass parameters. That is the difference between EPP and ERB templates in Puppet. Okay, now when it comes to ERB templates, you'll see expression like this. This means if equal to is not there, then it won't print the tags. So please make sure that you specify equal to and all. So if you specify equal to only, it will print that particular variable. Okay, this one we saw yesterday. We saw how to get a module in Puppet. So let's see some examples. Okay, so let's go to our server. So this is our server. So let's remove this demo.pp file because I am not going to use that one. Okay, so now ls minus l, sorry, ls minus l modules. You will see that these are modules that are available. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new module inside the module. Sorry, minus p inside the modules folder. The module name that I'm going to use is symbol class, and followed by I'm creating a manifest folder inside that symbol class module. Okay, so if we do ls modules, you'll see our new module which is named as symbol class. Okay, now let's add the content for that module. So nano modules symbol class manifest, and here I'll create the init.pp manifest file. Okay, so here I am going to use class structure. So I'll be using class and name the class as symbol class. Then I am going to pass parameters like say file content. I'm going to pass, and I'm going to use the default values. I am the default line. Okay. Now inside this, I am going to create a new resource named file, new file resource. Okay, I'm going to use the name like is class1.txt. Then I'm using the content, like the content of that file should come from this particular variable that we are passing, like file content. This variable should have the content of that particular file. Okay, now I have created the thing. So Now if I do say puppet apply minus e, so before that let me do ls minus l slash, so you can see that there is no file named s class 1 in my root folder. Then I'm going to apply this one, so puppet apply minus e followed by include simple class. So this here I am using the normal class declaration. Okay, so I won't be able to pass any parameters, so it should take the default value. Okay, so now if you do this ls, you will see this s class 1 dot created. So cat slash s class, if you do, you will see the default line, the default value is coming. Okay, now the same thing, if I want to use the resource style declaration, what I'll use is I'll use class followed by the class name, which is simple class. You can either use with within single colon or without single colon also you can use. Okay, then followed by the file content, and I'm going to specify the value for this as a I'm an external content. Okay, so now I'll execute this one. Now what I'm doing is I am using resource style class declaration, so that I'll be able to pass value for the parameters, and I am passing this value for the parameter. So now if I execute cat, you will see value for the content of that particular file has changed from the default line to this one. So is it clear the difference between normal style declaration and resource style declaration? Is it clear? Any doubt? Reza wants me to explain again. So Reza, this is what I explained earlier. Here I am using this line, like when you use minus e, you can directly execute Puppet commands. So here I am executing this include simple class. What it will do is it will, here this is normal style declaration. So it will execute the content inside my init.pp of simple class folder. So there that is where I created the simple class file, or the class is created there, the class definition is there. So that class we are referring, or we are declaring that class here. So it will execute the file resource that we added inside that particular class. Okay, so since we are using normal declaration, we won't be able to pass parameters, so it will automatically use the default value that we have specified within the class. But when we use this resource style declaration, at that time we are passing the content for the file resource via this class parameter resource style declaration. We are passing the value for that particular variable, and using that variable the content is getting changed. Is it clear, Reza? Okay, now let's show you one more example. Now I'm going to show you how to create a web server. Now Fritz is asking, can identify where the class was added from the two output place. Fritz, your question is not clear. What do you mean by can identify where the class was added from the two outputs, please? Can you elaborate? What is your doubt? This is the content of my init.pp. This is the class that I have created. Here I am using the variable, and this is a default variable. So when I don't use when I use the normal declaration, it will use the default variable as the content for this one, the default value as the content for this one. And when I use resource style declaration, I'll pass the value for that particular variable, and that value will be used as the content. This is clear, Fritz? So here I am not using, here not I am adding any class, here I am calling this class. This is a class definition, and using this class declaration I am calling that particular class. That is what is happening here and here. This is clear, Fritz? Here not I am writing any class, here I am calling the class, just simply calling those class. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a web server. Okay, so I'm the website that manifest file I'm going to use is named web.pp. So I have the content of that particular thing available. So this is the content that I am going to use. This is the manifest file, and here I have different resources. Like first resource, it is to execute apt get update. Then I want to install the Apache 2 package, and this package requires this particular resource to be executed. That is why I'm using require. Vivek is asking how can we get that content. Vivek, this content is there in the PDF. So when I give you the PDF, the content will already be there for you to try out. Okay, but this one I created this one, like I created this is a normal simple web server example of Puppet. Okay, now there is the service I am ensuring, using the service resource I am ensuring that Apache 2 service is running. Then I am installing PHP 5. Then this also requires this exec apt update to be executed before executing this one. Then I am also installing the libapache 2 mod php 5. So all the libraries that are required also I am installing in this one. And in this php 5 config file I am changing, like I am changing the content of that content. This particular line I am adding to enable php in the web server. I am adding this content to this particular folder. Okay, so this requires package and service Apache to be running. So after installing Apache only, you will have this particular file, and there then only you will be able to change the content of that file. That is the use of this particular section. Okay, then I'm creating an i.php file in this particular location, and this is the content that I am executing, like php info. This will just have this php info. So when I browse this i.php, it should give me the php info. So I'm saving this. Now when I do say, sorry, now I'm going to use puppet apply -t manifest, then web.pp. So now I'm going to install the web server in my server itself. This is for testing purpose. So after the execution, so now what it is doing is it is executing that apt get update, like it is getting the configuration. And first what it will do is it will do the apt get update to update the apt get repositories. That is the first step it will do. And I'm getting errors in apt get update. Okay, so this is the error related to my system. So this forbidden IP issue is coming because of that one. So 1 minute. Okay, so before that, now let's keep it like that. So after the execution, after this execution is complete in your machine, after this execution is complete, what you can do is you can execute curl localhost / i.php, and it will give you the correct the value, the php info value of your machine. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a module. I'm going to create a module like cd modules. If you see, if you do say ls, you can see these are the modules, right? So now there is a command, like there is a puppet command to create modules. So I showed you how to create modules by creating a directory on your own. Like I created a simple class module by creating the directory and creating a manifest folder inside that one, right? So instead of that, what you can do is you can use the command puppet module. First you have to enter into that modules folder, and inside you have to execute the command puppet module generate minus minus skip interview. This is to skip the question, otherwise it will ask questions whether you want to create this like that. Okay, and followed by the name of your module, which is API-web, that is the one that I am going to use. So what it will do is it will created this particular web module. So the name of module is API-web. Here API is the author name. Okay, so here it has created a new module called web. Now if I do say ls minus l, you can see one web module created here. Okay, so if I do say tree web, you will see this is the current structure. It will have one manifest. It will automatically create on init.php. Then this is the current structure. Okay, now I'm going to do is I'm going to edit that particular file. So web manifest init.php. So this is the default content. So what I'm going to do is inside this class web, I'll change, add my content. So I have copied the same content I am going to execute. Okay, okay, so this one is with this the tab. I added tab so that I don't have to enter for more readability. Okay, so this is the same content as I executed earlier. So inside class web, I am executing the resources that I showed you earlier. Okay, now I saved that. Now if you do say cat web manifest init.php, this is the content. And now if you want to check like cat photo slash what is a manifest, okay, so this one you will know. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, now if I want this to be applied to this particular node, which is Puppet node 1, can anyone tell me what I should do? Can anyone tell me what I should do if I want this particular module to be used to configure in this for this particular machine? Can anyone tell me what is the first step that I should do? Yesterday we saw how to do that. Can anyone tell me? Can all of you hear me? Mahesh is saying in site.pp we need to add. Exactly, Mahesh. So in our site.pp we have to add the line. So let's edit the site.pp. So nano manifest site.pp. So here inside this we have to add include. What will I give here? What will I give here? Include. What is the thing that I should give? I should give the module name, right? Which is I should give the module name, which is web, not API-web. The module name is web. API is the name that we have given. See, yesterday we downloaded like Puppet D-mod D, right? Still we have used this MOTD as a module name. So that is the module name. API is the author name. Okay, when you use Puppet module generate, you will be specifying author name hyphen module name. So here we'll be giving the module name alone. So we'll be using include web. Okay, now inside our node we'll be executing the command puppet agent -d. Sorry. So this, since this is the first time I'm executing puppet agent -d, I'm getting this messages. Now it is loading the facts, and after loading the facts it will get the configuration information corresponding to this particular thing. Now I am getting an error. You see this exec apt update, it is there in manifest web.pp. There is, see here, cat manifest web.pp. I have one file. So here also I am using the same service with the same name. See this apt get update. So I am using the same exact. Here also I am using insider module. Also I am using the same resource with the same title, which is not possible. So what I am going to do is I am going to remove this particular thing. Remove, or I can rename. I'll just rename. So manifest web.pp. I'm just going to rename it to say manifest web.pp hyphen old. This is just to avoid this duplication. See, so make sure that all the modules or inside your manifest file, inside your manifest folder, there are no manifest files which uses the same resource title as that of the one that we are using inside the module. You can't have the same resource title used for different resources. Okay, now I'll execute Puppet agent -t once again here. So now it is getting the configuration information. Sorry, first it will get the initial one, which is MOTD. That is the initial class that is included. So first it is getting that. After that only it will get our new module, which is web. Okay, so here also I am having issue with apt get update execution. So without apt get, the apt get is not working. So without that I won't be able to show you the web server. So what I can do? Okay, 1 minute. So Riza is asking, you have moved the file to old. Could you now please show the content present in web.pp? Now, see, if I do this ls manifest, now I have only web.pp.old. There is no web.pp. The Puppet will be looking for .pp files to get the configuration information. So since there is no web.pp, it will ignore this particular file. Okay. Okay, good. So now let me try to install this the default Apache to Apache of Apache module from the Puppet Labs. So let's try that. So now this is downloading that module from the Puppet Labs. Okay, so now this is downloaded. So what I'm going to do is inside my site.pp, instead of this web, I'm going to include the file, include the class which is Apache. Okay, and I'm going to do this apt Puppet agent -t. Let's see whether if it is also using apt update, then this will also give error, but let's see. Okay, so here our web class is not, web module is not getting executed. First let's see whether Apache is being installed or not. Okay, so while that is happening, I'll go through this thing. So these things we saw, like how to download, and one more thing is like this is NTP module, and if you want to like modules, you'll be able to search from the from this particular URL like I showed you last time. You'll be able to search here, and if it is sudo module, then you can use like this, and see this one. This is a valid name, valid class name. Okay, you will be able to specify your class name with colon and all. And one more thing is, when you use that colon, what it means is that like when you specify like something like in this particular case, it is specified like sudo colon. Here it is complete. Okay, so now here if it is like sudo colon rule, and if there is another class called sudo colon say API or something else, then what that means is both the class which is rule and API will be in the same scope as sudo. That is the only thing. So this the one that we specify before this double colon, it will identify the scope. Like it can be a class, like you can have a pseudo class, and inside your pseudo class you can have, or in the same level you can have, like in our module we have created one web class, right? So inside our manifest we only had that init.pp, which will have the class web. So this in the same folder, you can have say another file called say rule.pp, and inside that you can create the class rule, and there you can specify like say web colon rule. Like that you'll be able to mention. That is just for scope, variable scope. That is just for the scope. When you go advanced into Puppet, you will understand that. Okay. So as I mentioned, like indentation is not important, but that is the correct, like if you use indentation, that is the correct style to use. That is what Puppet advises you to use, with indentation, with proper indentation for your resources. Okay, so this we already saw, that adding the manifest, and this is the content for the web.manifest that I have used, web.pp, and these are the things that we are executing now. Let's see whether our uh, whether that particular thing is enabled or not. Okay, so this is my node. So let's browse and see whether web server is running. See, web server is running. When I use that particular module, web server is running. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to tweak my web module, this web.pp. I'm going to edit so that I can change the content. So now what I'll do is, sorry, nano modules web manifest init.pp. So okay, so what I'll do is I'll just remove these sections. So service will ensure that it is running. Since it is already running, I'll ignore that. Okay, so I'm not going to use PHP in this case. Okay, because for PHP I'll need to have apt update. So without that, what I am going to do is, here as content I am going to use one sample HTML file. Okay, so this is the sample HTML file. Okay, so here this line also is not required. Okay, so here I'll use a index.html. Okay, so now the content of my web init.pp is just this much, just creating a file. I'm changing the default index.html file to be served. Okay, because I am having issue with in my system doing executing apt get update. I'm not able to show you that one. So but if you execute the same command in your machine, it will work. Okay, I have corrupted my apt get update list. That is the reason, like sometimes it will work and sometimes it's not working. That is the reason why it is not working for me. So when you execute this command, when you add the whole command like this, it will work for you. Okay, so now our web module purpose is only to change the index.html content. Okay, so now if I do go to this particular thing, if I do say cat this one, you will see this is the current content. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute, and before that I have to change the site.pp. Sorry, here uh, here I'm going to I'm going to remove this and add include web. Okay, so now web also is included for this particular module. I executed puppet agent minus t in my puppet node. Sorry, in my puppet node I have executed that one. So now what it will do is it will ensure that the web server is installed, which is Apache 2, and this changing the content of that web server. So now if I do this cat index.html, you can see this is the content. Okay, so now if I refresh this particular page, you will see the new content being available, new content available when I execute the same thing. Is this clear? Any doubt? Is this clear? Sorry, Vivek is asking, created a Docker container with Puppet master, download the Apache, push the config to Puppet node, change the content of the web server. Exactly, that is what we have done. Change the content to be served by the web server, we change. That is what we done, what we did in this particular case. Okay, Ajinkya is asking what is the difference between web and Apache. Okay, Ajinkya, since I was having issue with installing Apache using my custom module, which is web, what I did is I installed the module which is there in this Puppet lab called Apache to install the Apache web server on my node, and using my web module, I change the content of that web server, content of the file that is being served by that web server. Is it clear? Okay, now I want to show you one more thing. I want to show you templates as well. See, I'll show you that. So now if you do say tree modules web, this is the current structure, right? Ajinkya is asking web is the page displayed. Ajinkya, using web module, we are changing the content of the page displayed. Earlier it was this, right, the default Apache content. We removed that and showed our line as the web content. The content of that particular HTML file we change. Okay. Okay, so now this is the current structure. So I am going to show you how to use templates. Okay, we'll be using the ERB templating system. So for that, the first thing that we have to do is to create a template, like create a template directory, mkdir, sorry, modules web, and here I'll have to create one templates folder, and inside that templates folder I am going to create a file called say index.html.erb. Okay, so here what I am going to do is I am adding one HTML, some content I am going to add. So HTML, then okay, so I am adding one content. Okay, so this is just the content that I am using. Okay, so I'll save this one. Okay, now if I want to use this content as a template for my my inside my init.pp, what I have to do is I have to edit that in init.pp file first. So I'll go to manifest init.pp, and here what I'll do is inside this file resource here inside the content section, instead of adding the line like this, what I am going to do is I'll use the template keyword. So using template, I'll specify the name, like this is the module, and inside this module I have index.html.erb. This is the file that I created, right? So this file name I'll specify. So that is inside this web module. Okay, now I'll just save this one. Now if I do puppet agent -t, what it will do is it will change the content of that thing based on the template file that I used. It will use that template file, it will get the content from the template file and make it as an index.html file. Okay, now if I do cat index.html, see this is the content, and if I refresh this page, see the content has now changed. Now this is coming from the template file. The content is coming from the template file. This is clear. This is template file. Using the template file, this is clear to all of you. This is how you will use the ERB template. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to show you some more things. Okay. So let's proceed with the presentation. These things we saw. Then this node, this also we saw, like inside site.pp, how to change that. And one more thing, you will be able to use multiple names. Ajinkya is asking .erb is extension of template file. Yes, Ajinkya. .erb is the extension of template file, Ruby template file. Okay. Now inside the site.pp, you will be able to use multiple nodes like this, like comma separated nodes. You will be able to use. Then you will also be able to use regex expression inside the site.pp. All those things, it is possible. Okay. So this one also we saw. Then this module creation we saw. Now this also we saw, like using this undo, like this one, like undo. As I mentioned, rollback is not available with Puppet, right? So you cannot undo changes. So there is no rollback in the case of Puppet. You will have to manually do that. Like if you install a particular software, then if you want to roll back, then you will have to manually delete it. So there is no safe way to manually do it. But there are resources like using file resource and all. You'll be able to delete directories and all. But please be careful, because if you remove this, will remove the whole directory. Like if you specify your path of the directory and ensure that it is absent, if you make it ensure absent, then what it will do is it will ensure that the file directory is fully deleted and you won't get that back. So please be careful when you are doing that rollback. Okay, now this one we saw, like how to create this one. Then okay, now I want to show you validate. Like in our case, when I, like, let's see inside my nano web modules web manifest .pp, let's make a mistake in this one. Okay, so sorry, so let me remove, okay, what I did is I removed the last close parenthesis. Okay, so there is an error in this particular file. So if you want to, before executing, what you have to do is you have to execute the command puppet parser validate followed by the path of that manifest file, which is init.pp. So when you execute, it will check whether there is any syntax error, whether there is any error in that particular manifest file. Using this puppet parser validate, you'll be able to check whether there is any error in that manifest file. So here it is saying that syntax error at the end of the file. So it is showing the error. Now let me put it back. I'll fix the error. Sorry, I'll fix the error and I'll execute the Puppet parser validate command once again, and it is showing no error. So this is how we'll be able to check the error, check whether there is whether the error is there or not. Okay. Now there is something called Puppet apply. Sorry. Mm, okay. Minus config print all. So what it will do is, this is similar to our Puppet config print. It will print all the configuration information or the configuration variables of our current system. This is similar to executing Puppet config print. This is same as executing Puppet apply minus config print minus all. So these two commands, like this and this, these two have the same functionality. Both will show you the same output to get the configuration information. Okay. Now as I mentioned earlier, you'll be able to create, you'll be able to have sections, like as I showed you earlier, when I showed you, like say cat/etc Puppet Labs, then puppet.conf. I showed you, like this section, master section, you can have variables. So what is the use of this is, you'll be able to create sections. Like there are mainly 4 sections. First one is master, then there is another section called main, then there is agent, and then there is user. Okay, so there are 4 sections in Puppet. Sorry, there are 4 sections in Puppet. First is master, then main, agent, and user. So master is used by the Puppet master services and the Puppet cert command. All these things will use the values inside this master section. Okay, so if you add one main section, then it is the global section used by all commands and services. It can be overridden by the other sections, including master. Okay, now if you have agent section, like if you want to add one, like I'll show you. No, in this one, what you can do is, like this master section, you can have say your main section, and you can say okay, I want to change the log directory to say something else. This is just for example. Okay, so I'm changing the log directory for Puppet server main, and say for agent section, if you want to add, then you can use the same thing, like log server agent you can use. Similarly, you can have one user section, and there you can change this to user some other thing. So these variables you will be able to change in these different sections. Okay, so Puppet prefers to use settings from one of the 3 application specific sections, like master or agent or user. So as far as possible, don't try to use main, because the values that we specify in master, agent, and user can override the value that we specified in main. Okay, now I'll just save this. I'm just showing this to give you an example, give you an idea. But if I do like Puppet config print, say log path, that is the one that I copied, right? So log path minus section master followed by the environment name, like environment production. If you execute okay, so what is the name of the variable that I use? Sorry, log directory, log directory, sorry. So this should be okay. So if you execute like this, you will get the value that you have specified in master section. Okay, now If you want to get the value that you have specified in the main section, you can execute like this. Similarly, if you want to get the information from the agent section, sorry, agent section, you can execute like this. Similarly, user also you will be able to section. So using this minus minus section, you will be able to filter the config. Like if you want to get the configuration information, then what you have to do is you have to execute the command puppet config print followed by the configuration variable that you are checking and the section you can specify and the environment. Okay, so this is how you will be able to get those details. Okay, so that is what we saw, like module path. If you want to see that also, you will be able to see. So these URLs will give you an idea about these different config sections. As I told you, main is the global section used by all commands and services, and it can be overridden by other sections. Master is used by the Puppet master service and Puppet served command. Then agent is used by Puppet agents, and last is the user. Okay, now this one we saw yesterday, like how to disconnect node using this clean and also removing the PEM files manually. Okay, so that's it everyone. So as homework, please try out the example that I have showed you. And since I was not able to show you that web server with my web module, the whole init.pp, what you have to do is as homework you have to do that one. Okay, so the content is available in the presentation. Okay, so the content is available in the presentation, so please try out, and if you are facing any issue, please email me and I'll get back to you. Okay, and while emailing, please send the whole details including from the initial command that you executed itself, so that I'll get a trail, or I'll be able to check your uh, output trail and identify where the issue is. Okay, now Akhil is asking, agent log dir will populate log files of all nodes in the path mentioned. What do you mean by agent log dir? No, see, in this inside this puppet.conf file, we have specified different sections, right? So for master section, we have specified the log directory as this one. For main section, we have specified the log directory as this one. Like we have the main at the end. Similarly, for agent section, you have specified the log directory value as this one. So if you want to get those values, you can specify minus minus section, and the value for that particular section you will get for this particular variable. This is clear, Akhil? So I just showed this as an example. You will be able to change the section, but make sure when you change those things, you will have to make sure that it's the path and all are there if it is a path. But if it is just a variable, then you can try out those variables for different sections and all. Okay, so please try out this example and also compare the differences between chef and puppet, so that you will be able to clearly distinguish between chef and puppet and can identify which one you can use or which one you want to go deep into and understand further. Okay, so is there any doubt in the topics that we covered today? Anyone? Sorry, anyone? Okay, so it looks like there are no doubts. So please go through the video once again. Please try out the comments, and if there is any doubt, please email me. Okay, so Ajinkya is having a doubt. Ajinkya is asking how to create document with highlighted text. It's clearly visible. Not clear. Ajinkya, what do you mean by how to create document with highlighted text? What do you mean by that one? You mean this one? I didn't understand your question, Ajinkya. Can you please elaborate on that? Ajinkya is saying as in presentation. Which slide are you talking about? I didn't understand you, Ajinkya. Syntax samples. Okay, Ajinkya, those syntax samples I have used the document provided by Puppet itself. So from these documents, I have took the screenshots. I didn't create this one. I just took the screenshot so that I can show you those examples from the Puppet documentation. Okay, so that's it, everyone. So we'll see in the next weekend, and please try out all those examples and do the homework. Okay, bye. Have a nice week ahead. Bye, everyone.